Benchwarmers Podcast. I am Casey Coggins here with Alvin Hebert.
What's up, guys?
And Andrew Lira.
Hello, hello.
So we are going to go over these NBA playoffs. The Western Conference and Eastern Conference Finals are coming down to Game 7s. This is the first time since, I believe, 1979 that both conferences are going to a Game 7. And I mean, it's been ugly basketball, to be honest. I do also want to say that if I sound a little different, I am super congested. Allergies are kicking my ass, but I'm gonna plug away. And
It's summertime. Oh, right. It's Texas.
yes, yeah, 100-degree heat. So, what do you think? What do y'all think has been kind of, let's go, biggest surprise so far in the conference finals? Alvin, what's your biggest surprise?
My biggest surprise is actually the Boston Celtics.
I was gonna say there's probably two good answers that go for the biggest surprise.
I mean, because Jaylen Brown and Terry Rozier, like when they're balling, like Celtics have not.
Well, yeah, it's. I mean, I don't follow the Celtics all that closely during the regular season, but for the last couple of years, Terry Rozier's name has been part of, like, hey, trade him for Kyrie before they even traded for Kyrie. Trade him for this player. Trade him for Boogie Cousins. Like, use him as a trade piece. And Celtics fans were adamantly against trading Rozier. And then Kyrie's out, and you get to see the type of talent that guy has.
So now you trade him.
For even, I mean, you could trade him for probably even somebody better, like Kawhi Leonard, maybe.
It depends depending on who becomes available and what all the GMs want to do and which route they want to go. But yeah, you could use him as a package deal. But I mean, it's good to have that talented of a player as a backup.
Yeah, because they outplayed Ben Simmons and Embiid, and then they even outplaying J.R. Smith and George Hill, which there was like, because of their experience, they should be able to handle them, but like those young guys.
It's one of those weird things where they're still young, but they weren't as young as the Sixers guys because they had, like, Jaylen Brown and Marcus Smart and Rozier had experience from last year. Tatum's the only inexperienced guy on this Celtics team as far as playoff goes. They're still young, but they went to the conference finals last year with Isaiah Thomas leading them. Horford's been there. Brown was there last year. Rozier was there last year. Smart was there last year. Morris has been there.
Baines.
Aaron Baines won a championship with San Antonio.
Yep.
So they weren't.
The man bun is meant to get helped on.
Everybody, a lot of people are talking about the job that Brad Stevens has done coaching, and he is. We've talked about this, the top 5 coach in the league, probably top 3. But I think that we undersell how talented the Celtics team is and the job that Danny Ainge has done. Andrew, your biggest surprise so far of the conference finals?
My biggest surprise is the fact that Cleveland's pushing it to Game 7.
Cleveland?
Yeah.
That's not a surprise.
I definitely called it for a Game 5 Celtics win.
Yeah, the fact that they're going to 7, like, with this ragtag team, like,
yeah, I mean,
you can find these players at Ross.
It's the second least talented team LeBron has had to make it this far in the playoffs.
Because that's probably the worst one.
The worst one was the 07.
07 was 100 times worse.
But but that team at least played defense. This team don't play.
Well,
no
that was
defense.
because it was a different NBA and everybody played defense in 07.
There was a top ranked defense team though.
Did you look at the scores of the 4-game sweep from the Spurs on the Cavs? The highest scoring game was 95 points. I think Game 4 was 75-72. Like, that was the type of score we were getting out. Like, everybody played defense because nobody was shooting the ball this way.
I think only San Antonio watched that NBA Finals.
In Cleveland.
We didn't even watch it. We knew it was going to happen.
but, like, that Cavs team had Ilgauskas as their second best player.
Yeah.
Like, Big Z was... Kevin Love is this team's second best player, and Kevin Love, before all the injuries has happened, you could say he's probably a top 20 player in the league because of the talent-wise, because of all the things he can do as a big man. He's a good passer, he's a good shooter, he's a great rebounder. They don't use him in the post because they have LeBron, but if you put Kevin Love in a different atmosphere and a different environment and scheme, you'll probably see the Kevin Love we saw in Minnesota.
I definitely would prefer the Kevin Love in Minnesota than the Kevin Love I see now in Cleveland.
That's what we were saying about Bosh in Miami.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
We misdreaded Bosh.
The raptor-looking raptor.
Yeah, the Raptor with the dreads, dude.
was the
That was
mascot.
it. That was perfect.
But so my biggest surprise is Houston, actually, because the fact that they're giving up, pushing Golden State this far, and taking them to a Game 7, it helps a little bit that Andre Iguodala has been hurt, but they won Game 5 with Harden going 0 of 11 from 3. Like, they haven't had a consistent good game from both Harden and Chris Paul.
Well, you can even say the same thing with Golden State.
First, well,
You're talking about KD not performing?
Yeah,
Game
like
1.
those past 2 games, he didn't perform
Yeah,
in
but
the second half.
that's the difference between Golden State and the rest of the league is, okay, Durant didn't play well the last 2 games.
Clay can go off for
Clay
35.
went off with Steph Curry, and that makes up for all of Kevin Durant's shortcomings.
Yeah, but I think this past game actually showed them doing that. But like those other last 2 games, like when all of them were off and like not scoring, like
Yeah, there have
it was
been,
just
but yeah, Harden hasn't really looked the same. Last night, like
we know this of him.
I could tell at one point last night, he just gave up trying to guard guys. I don't know how many times I watched somebody like cross over on him, and instead of him shuffling his feet, he just tries to like swing around and get the back tap. He doesn't even try to like stay with them. He just lets them go by, and he tries to.
He's back to not playing defense.
Yeah, there was one, I think, it was
that.
Durant coming down on him who crossed over and got a dunk, and he turned around and looked at Clint Capella like, hey, where's the help? Like, you were the only guy on that side. Like, yeah, you need help. You need to do a better job about trying to at least stay in front of the guy.
Put a body on him.
Something.
But Eric Gordon has shown up. Trevor Ariza had a great Game 5. They look like they might have something going last night, and then the wheels fell off. They ran out of gas. In that second quarter, I think, really changed the game. The third quarter was still the same.
They go back to playing iso ball with James Harden.
Yeah, the third quarter was still the same, where Golden State will hit you in the mouth. But it was the fact that they were up 17 at the end of the first. They needed to try to at least maintain that lead for that quarter. If they could have played to a standstill, then that third quarter blow wouldn't have been that bad. But they were up 10 at half, and you could just tell they went from scoring 39 in the first quarter to 22 in the second quarter to 16 in the third quarter to 9 in the fourth.
Yeah, they got outscored. It was 64-25 or something like that in the second half.
Yeah.
Something like that, yeah.
Just blown out the water. But they're still in Game 7. They have the Game 7 at home. And in Game 7s, all it takes is one guy to just go off. You look at, even back in the day, you have guys like Vernon Maxwell or it might have been Cedric Maxwell, like for the Celtics, going off. Vinny Johnson.
No, Vernon Maxwell.
Yeah. Vinny Johnson going off. Like, all it takes is one guy to have a great game. Even, as Spurs fans, Game 7 against the Heat in 13, like, LeBron played great. But I'm pretty sure that was also the game that Shane Battier hit 6 threes. Like, all it took was, like, Shane Battier went off for, like, 20 points that game.
Was that the Shane Battier and
Mike Miller? Yeah.
They both went off?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so at home, your role players play better, typically. And so if you can get a good 30-point night from James Harden where he looks like he's back in control of the offense, and you get Eric Gordon going off, PJ Tucker, if he can do a repeat performance of what he did, and I think it was Game 5, you can see Houston pulling off an upset of the team that everybody was expecting to win the finals again.
But we all know what happens to James Harden when it comes to elimination games.
Yes. Now, those were the surprises we had. Let's hit disappointments. Andrew, what's your biggest disappointment of the conference finals?
The lack of full games. Like, these teams aren't playing all 48 minutes, and it's kind of frustrating to watch. Because, yeah, you can go from Houston being up 17 then losing by fucking 30 points. That's not a good product.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've been pounding the rock, the Spurs little Twitter
PTR.
feed. Yeah, whoever was in charge of it yesterday tweeted out like, "Do you love seeing like defensive slugfest?" Like it was, I think it was for Cleveland and Boston Game 6, where it was just like. It wasn't great basketball, but like you could tell the teams were fighting so hard to win the game.
I love that game.
And my response to them was like, I love both. I love both offensive shootouts and defensive slugfests. But it's when you see night after night teams just jacking up 43s, like both teams, and you're just seeing like there were a couple times last night. Where Golden State missed transition opportunities, and this is early in the game when they were down. They missed transition opportunities because instead of going and taking care of a 2-on-1 and getting a layup, they turned a 2-on-1 to a 3-on-1 and getting a 3 from somebody who wasn't Klay Thompson or Steph Curry. And so it's like, I don't want to see that every single night. It's nice to have an 86-88 game like a Milwaukee and Boston. I think one of those games was like mid-80s and just drag it out. Defensive basketball, post-ups. It's good to see the change of pace. So with how like a lot of these games have gone, it's been one team is just shooting lights out. The other team can't get anything going, and we have the largest margin of defeat in conference finals history because of that. We had Game 4 and 5, I think, in the Golden State Houston series came down to the last couple possessions.
Yeah. They won by like that's right.
3 and 4.
Game 5, I think it was
4, and I think Game 4 was 3 points.
Yeah.
And then the closest game that we've had on the Eastern Conference is a 9-point. Like
the Game 5 9-point game.
Yeah, and I wasn't even that close.
Boston definitely had their chances on that one.
So it's not good product when you can just turn on and watch 5 minutes of a game and be like, yeah, I don't need to watch this because this team's definitely going to win. Alvin, your biggest disappointment?
I guess it like coincides with Andrew said. It's just like the disparity, like from a team playing at home to playing on the road. Like I just don't see how it's
how Boston
that
can
big
be
of a
so good at home
and then so bad on the road. Like that gap, that big gap is like mind-boggling to me. Like especially how a team like that could still be in the playoffs even with all the talented young guys that they have. Like. I mean, they're just lucky that they got home court advantage throughout those series because if they didn't, they probably would have been knocked out in the first round in Milwaukee.
For Boston being so good at home, they're only 2.5-point favorites for Game 7
because it's LeBron James elimination.
Like I just said,
but standard home is they'll give you 3 points.
Yeah.
So they're essentially saying Cleveland,
right?
They're riding them in right now.
Yeah, I mean. Just like I said with Harden, and I mean it goes the same way with like KD and Steph.
Yeah, because it's the same thing with Al Horford. Like he goes like gets like 14 and 12 at home, and then he goes to Cleveland only like 2-4 points, missing free throws.
Yeah.
I'm just like, what?
And even Game 7 being at home in Houston, Warriors are favored by 6.
Oh yeah, they announced that as soon as that Game 6 was over, that Warriors were
because that
favored for Game 7.
goes to a little bit of my biggest disappointment in the conference finals is injuries.
Yeah.
Like, just, I know Kyrie and Hayward have been out for a while, but seeing Kevin Love have the concussion, and I don't think he's playing today.
He's not playing.
Nope.
Chris Paul having the hamstring, Iguodala having his knee. For a while, it looked like Clay might be a little more banged up than he actually is.
Everyone expected Steph to be more banged up.
Yeah, so just injuries kind of have changed, and they happen, but they change the flow of a series. Because I think had Chris Paul not got hurt in Game 5 and he plays Game 6, I would have bet that Houston wins Game 6. But once he went down, it really just pops the balloon of Houston.
He's not. I don't think he's going to play Game 7 either, right?
They
said not likely.
Less likely than likely.
Yeah. So it's like once Chris Paul got hurt and everybody was saying like it's more significant than he's making it seem. You kind of you rule him out Game 6 and 7, and now you're saying okay, it's James Harden has to put this team on his back and be the closer, but he hasn't really been a closer of a team. He's been the closer, but it's not. He's not Mariano Rivera. He's a guy. He was the Washington Nationals bullpen of last year.
He's not
before
LeBron
the trades.
He's not LeBron James.
Yeah, he's not Chris Paul, because Chris Paul was able to close out games 4 and 5. Not James Harden. So having Chris Paul get hurt and Kevin Love get hurt really kind of changes like the flow of a series, and it's kind of disappointing to see because I want to see, I think Golden State would still beat Houston at full strength, but I want to see Golden State beat teams at full strength.
But at the same time, I'm just happy. I mean, if it doesn't happen, I would like it to happen, but I wouldn't like it to happen. I want to see Boston.
Boston in the finals.
I'm tired of seeing Golden State versus Cleveland. If this is going on, this will be the 4th year?
4th year.
Yeah.
I'm done.
Yeah, I definitely don't want to see that. That's my least liked outcome of the 4. I really just don't want to see Golden State in it again, because Golden State, if it's Golden State Cleveland, it's probably Golden State in 5 again.
Mm-hmm.
I think Boston being a deeper team,
Maybe in 6.
and yeah, they might be able to steal some games, because Boston in the last 4 years have played the Warriors, I think, the toughest out of anybody not named the Spurs.
Yeah,
but at the same time, they're riding
Kyrie,
Isaiah Thomas,
IT.
Well, even this year when Boston would go and play the Warriors, Kyrie was having a field day.
Yeah, it's always it's teams with great point guards can give the Warriors the biggest fits.
Especially when the Warriors point guard is not even, he didn't make first, or he made third team All NBA?
That was only because of the injury. If he didn't miss as many games, he probably would have been a first or a second team.
Who got first team?
Dame.
Oh, he wouldn't have gotten over Dame.
They caused a big Dame first team All NBA.
He deserved it.
I said him before the year was my dark horse MVP because I thought he was going to have the year that he had.
Yeah,
but it wasn't like, I think people were complaining about Dame getting it more because of him crying for All-Stars and complaining. It was like well, shit, all right, stop complaining, here's some accolade.
Yeah, right.
We know you're great. But he definitely deserved it, and he did deserve it over Steph because of the teams they play for and the fact that Steph is missing games.
Well, I mean, do you think he deserved it over Russ?
Definitely.
Alvin doesn't seem so convinced.
No, I was trying to think about it, but I definitely think he deserved it over Russ this year, because I was trying to figure out the numbers.
Think about like who was the most disappointing team this whole season. Which player plays for that team?
Yeah,
but at the same time, you can't put it on. I mean, you can because you're not gonna win with him on your team. But at the same time,
now
you can't hype yourself with Melo and PG.
You can change this phrase. It's like if you think about the team that he's on, and like you're like, oh well, things didn't work out. Well, think about how many times we've complained about players not doing enough when their supporting cast wasn't good enough. Like we can't give Russ all this praise because his supporting cast isn't good enough when we give all this blame to another player when their supporting cast wasn't good enough. Like that's the thing about being the best player on your team is sure, go ahead and score 40 points and get 12 rebounds and 11 assists. But your team is still a French playoff team. It's a 5 seed, a 6 seed. Like maybe if you could have changed, you could have been a better team.
What about Aldridge? You made what, second team or first team?
Second team.
Second team.
Yeah.
And that was one where it's like his statistics were probably not as good as some of the guys who got third team. Like I think statistically Karl Anthony Towns was better, but Aldridge didn't have the same type of help that Cat did.
He did more.
He didn't have a Jimmy Butler.
Yeah, or an Andrew Wiggins.
Or a Kawhi Leonard.
Kawhi Leonard played for the Spurs.
Yeah, he didn't have them.
Game 7 for the Cavs is tonight. Cavs Celtics in Boston. I think it'll be a really good game. It's going to be, it's pretty much LeBron has a chance to continue his just rise to the Jordan-esque level of legacy. I mean, it's really getting tough to say anybody is better than LeBron other than Michael.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah.
I mean, you could probably make an argument for guys like Kareem from Magic. Because I think Kareem doesn't get enough in this discussion. Because Kareem, other than like LeBron, didn't go to college, so LeBron doesn't have that in his arsenal of things. Michael didn't have the high school success. He had some college success, obviously hitting that game winner. But Kareem, high school dominant, college, I don't think he lost a national title. At UCLA, he won 4 straight years. And he was part of the wooden 70s or 60s where they won like 7 straight titles. And then he goes to Milwaukee and pretty much single-handedly wins an NBA title in Milwaukee. And then he wins, 4 more titles with the Lakers up until he was like 40 years old. So his span of excellence, he is arguably the most unblockable or unguardable shot of all time. It's like he's the all-time leading scorer. He was so good for so long that I think people kind of forget that when he was 22 years old, like his 22 to 26 year old, it was like nothing the NBA had seen. It was Bill Russell with Will Chamberlain's offensive game. So, again, LeBron is right there. Like, he's the second best player in NBA history to me.
Mm-hmm.
I think if he wins one more title, I will put him equal to Michael. Especially if he wins the title this year with this damn team. I might even vault him over with it. Because what we're watching with him in his 15th season at 33, with playing the most minutes in the NBA and just dragging this team to where they're at now is
He's
incredible.
Starting to drag himself too. The past 2 games, like even though he's putting up the numbers, but you see him like
He's fucking tired, man.
you see him gassed.
He's playing like this is the finals. He don't realize there's another round after this.
Yeah, but he wins tonight. He has 4 or 5 days to
Thursday.
Is it Thursday?
Thursday.
Yeah, the 31st is the start.
Mm-hmm.
I thought it was like June 2nd.
Nope.
Well then, he has a couple days to get fueled up and
Just go chill in the crowd chamber.
and hope that Kevin Love can recover. But we'll see. So outside of the NBA world, we have some interesting things going on in other sports. Baseball wise, Mike Trout went 5 for 5 last night.
Not my MVP.
Not my MVP.
3 doubles.
Hashtag not my MVP.
17th home run. One guy who might really steal an MVP in the AL is Mookie Betts. That dude is putting up some monster numbers for Boston.
He's just jacking them.
Yeah, he's carrying.
I mean, I think he has 16 now. Washington has been a little disappointing.
Yeah.
Kershaw hasn't been able to get onto the mound really all season. He hasn't looked right. You have Milwaukee, who I thought was going to be a good team. Like they're leading the NL Central by like 4 games now. It's been just
Aaron Judge yesterday too, right? What was it? The 4 games with 4 home runs.
I think I don't know if it's Judge. I know Gleyber Torres hit a home run in like 4 or 5 straight games.
Or was it Torres?
Yeah, Torres has been tearing it up. Stanton still really hasn't found his groove, it seems, but the Yankees have been so good that it really hasn't mattered what he did. So there's been in baseball a lot of I think riveting storylines for this early in the year, but I forgot what I was watching, but they were like it's kind of disheartening to watch though because you look at the American League and it's really like okay, well, 3 teams are the competing teams. Like you have all these teams, you have all these games, but you can sit here in May and say, all right, well, it's going to be Boston or the Yankees winning that division, and it's going to be Houston. And one of those 3 teams is going to represent the AL in the World Series.
Houston's been underperforming this year so far.
Oh, they had a big blowout in the dugout too, the other night.
Yeah, they're and it's their bats. Their bats have
They
not.
just seem kind of hungover.
I could expect that for a young team, especially a city that hasn't won a World Series.
Well, I mean, and they kind of get a little bit of luck because they're in the same division. They're in the division that they're in. Because the only team I think that they really have to worry about is the Angels. But even then, I don't think that like the Angels would have. I mean, I think they have the best player in baseball.
I still don't think they have enough to beat a team like Houston in a series.
Like Houston is. It seems like they've struggled, but they're 34-19 with the 3rd best record in the American League behind Boston and New York. And I didn't even realize Seattle's 31-20.
And they just made a trade for Tampa.
Alex Colomé and Denard Span. Yeah, so that was a good move from them. And you have Philadelphia and Atlanta in the National League.
Atlanta's on fire.
They're leading the National League East, and you would think that the Mets would have been able to figure things out. The Nationals should have walked away with that division, but these 2 super young teams in Philadelphia and Atlanta are 5 games up on those teams. I think Philadelphia is leading that division right now, but they're 2 of the best teams in the NL right now. Another thing is the Washington Capitals. Alex Ovechkin. They finally didn't choke.
The Caps.
They made it to the Stanley Cup Finals, and
Will
they're
he
playing.
finally be crowned?
And it's such a. I think the hockey has one of the best storylines going, is because you have the expansion team in the Las Vegas Golden Knights with a team of just a bunch of castaways, and then you have one of the best players of like in hockey the last 30 years finally getting over the Sidney Crosby hump and making it to the finals. Like whichever way this goes,
It's a good story.
it's a good story, and it'll be like historic whichever way that the puck goes.
Oh, because they don't use balls.
Whichever way the ice melts.
Quack, 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 Mr. Duckworth.
And then you have your typical NFL drama offseason rules and controversy and suspensions. And
When would the NFL ever get it right?
I have a guess that answer might be when Roger Goodell is not in charge.
That's my assumption. as well.
Or
It's a business.
when some of the owners change hands. Because right now they're pretty much the least progressive league of the big four sports in America. They don't like speaking out. I wrote this in a little thing I did on Deflategate years ago, where Roger Goodell seems to be the type of guy who tries to make everybody happy, not knowing that it's impossible to make everybody happy, and in doing so he makes nobody happy. Like, everybody's upset because he's trying to make everybody happy.
Just fuck everyone.
Why are you making them happy? Why are you making them happy?
Exactly. Like, he just needs to, like, they really do need to just come out, and I said it about the Zeke suspension. Like, you just need to start making explicit rules. Like, don't try to waver on anything. Like, just say, look, if this happens to you, this is going to be the suspension. This is going to be the discipline. This is what we are going to do, and you can go through an appeals process, but just straight, like, right away, this is it. We don't need to worry about anything else, and he doesn't do that. He's like, well, we'll see. Well, let's do it halfway. Let's compromise.
Which is basically what he did with this rule. It's just like, you're going to stand, or you could just sit in the locker room. That's fine.
Yeah, and it makes things worse almost by doing it that way, because now instead of having those players out there with the team, if people boo them, they're not they're booing the individual, but that individual is around the team, so there's at least some kind of support, whereas that individual is in the locker room going to be coming out getting booed when they're coming out of the tunnel. And if you're like the home team, you're now getting booed by your home crowd. Why do you want to play for them?
Mm-hmm.
Like, why do you want to... Like, they spent all their money to come to a game to boo you, to provide them entertainment. It's a little ass backwards to me.
Well, at the same time, that the NBA's had the rule where you can't sit or kneel during the anthem, and yet you don't see any protests from the NBA players. They understand it's a rule. They find a different way to do it with the LeBron and the "I Can't Breathe" shirts.
Yeah, they have.
Well, they didn't find them for that though, because they remember that one year they told them not to like wear shirts with propaganda on it and all that stuff.
But they also allowed the players more. The players have more of a voice outside of the sport.
The players have more of a brand. They have their own.
They got their own brand.
Like, think of NFL players. Who outside of Tom Brady and Aaron Rodgers can go and say something and like have it actually mean something? Like, the most like talkative player that we've seen in recent years is somebody like Richard Sherman.
T.O.
And how was he seen? What was his perception?
He's a pariah and all that stuff. Like
it took him years to get into the Hall of Fame because of the way that the media saw him, because he was trying to voice his opinions.
Get your popcorn ready.
So, like, the NFL players are kind of silenced by the way that NFL media and NFL fans and just NFL owners are. They're like, look, you're representing the shield and you're representing your team, so do that. You don't get to be yourself outside of work, and it makes things difficult. So you take the platform you have to try to get your voices heard, and if that platform is in front of national television with millions of viewers, why would you not use that? Where you could go to a press conference and do your protesting, or if you could go down the street and do your protesting, which is what they want. Like, don't do it at this time. But no, it's not going to have the same impact. Not as many people are going to see it. It's not going to get discussed as much. It's going to get swept under the rug and nothing's going to happen.
Yep.
So I think that will lead us to our on fire, in dire, and our prophecies of the week. Alvin, I'll let you go first on the fire pick. Who was
my fire?
I bet we got the same one.
It's Gareth Bale.
No, we don't.
Real Madrid.
Oh, there we go.
Yeah.
Subbing in like the 60th
that
something
goal
minute.
Was nuts.
5 minutes in, bicycle kick.
That goal
in the top corner.
It wasn't just some lame bicycle kick where they were like he was able to do it, but the ball just kind of trickled in, or like it was. He floated the ball over the keeper. The keeper had nothing he could do.
There was nothing. It hit top corner. The volley from Marcelo, like, it was on point, and then he just like took a step back and just
outside of the right foot, I believe.
Yep.
Just floated it. It was.
And then,
like, I hate Cristiano Ronaldo, but his reaction to that was hilarious, because you can see Gareth Bale like celebrating and he's yelling and like going, and then you see Ronaldo in the back just like shaking his head laughing at the goal, because he was like, I can't believe what I just saw.
It was reminiscent when he did it a few matches.
Zinedine Zidane's reaction was the exact same that it was for Ronaldo, where it's like you see him relatively often in soccer, like professional soccer like that, like the Ibrahimovic goals that you'll see. So you see it, but then when it's, the Champions League final, guy subs in 3 minutes in, doesn't hit, like, gets a goal like that. It's just like unbelievable.
To top it off, I think like somewhere in the 80th minute, he shoots from like 90 feet out.
Stupid keeper tries to punch it.
Yeah.
Punches it right into the goal.
I'm like, I know that's more on the goalie, but I'm like, to even like take that shot and like.
He just blasted it right at the keeper, and the keeper just.
He couldn't handle it.
Yeah.
I was just like, alright.
And then, after the game, he's like, yeah, I'm going to try to go back to the Premier League. He pretty much said, like, all right, well, I've been injured the last couple of years, and that's how I ended up here on Real Madrid. I think I've shown you what I can do, because he scored goals in his last 6 matches.
And they were all subs.
Yeah.
He didn't start those games.
And so then he's like, yeah, I think I'm gonna leave Real Madrid and go back to Premier League. And Cristiano Ronaldo, he's not sure if he's going to be back with Real Madrid.
Especially with the whole Neymar thing.
He hinted at leaving, so we'll see what happens with Real Madrid. But they've been on an incredible run, 3 straight Championship League titles.
Yep.
But yeah, Gareth Bale was my fire pick too, merely off of that one goal. And like all the things that led up to it.
It just sucked because Mo Salah went down that game, and
Yeah, I was out doing the book release thing for my cousin, and I got back and I turned the game on and they talked about Salah being out, and I was wondering why they didn't give any more information. They just said, "Oh yeah, they're doing this without their best player, their man of the year." And then after the game, I saw it on Twitter that Sergio Ramos armbarred him to the ground and dislocated his shoulder.
yeah, and he tried playing on it, but they did a corner set piece. I think somebody just
Bumped him,
and he was just back on the ground in so much pain.
Yeah, so that's kind of the Real Madrid got the Golden State Warriors treatment. So let's see who your fire pick is, Andrew.
Mine was Real Madrid.
Oh, okay.
I was like, just the fact, just the three-peat itself too.
Especially when it comes to soccer, man.
16, 17, 18.
Well, and it's funny because this year they were the best team in Champions League, but they aren't the best team.
Not in La Liga either.
Yeah, they
finished third or fourth.
Yeah, I think I want to say, was it Seville? I think was second in La Liga, but Barcelona ran away with it this year because they went 43 straight matches unbeaten.
If I'm not mistaken, I think it was Barcelona. I think it was Atletico.
Oh yeah.
And then Real, and then it was Valencia. I think that's how it went.
Yeah. Yeah. Barcelona won La Liga by 14 points.
Yeah, that was nobody was going to catch them.
They had one loss all year, and it was their last game. Their very last game of La Liga. They didn't play anybody.
It didn't matter.
There was no Messi. There was no Suarez. They didn't play anybody, and they lost to one of the bottom teams in the league.
Yeah.
And it would have been the first time. I want to say in the last 40 years that a team has gone unbeaten for an entire season.
But I mean, for a Champions League to win 3 titles back to back, I mean, because it's not just it's Premier League and La Liga
it's all of the UEFA leagues. Yeah. You have the Italian league, German, all of those.
The French.
And they could have lost this game. I think they could have lost in the semifinals. I think they had a tough time.
Oh, the 2 games with Juventus, they should have lost against Juventus.
Yeah.
And then...
Oh, that's the one where you jinxed them, right?
No, that was the first game.
Yeah.
But the second game...
You tried to reverse jinx them.
Yeah. And it almost worked, but then they red carded Buffon, and I was like...
Yeah, that was such a stupid... Yeah. So let's get on to who's in dire. Andrew, you can lead off there.
My dire, I got the Rockets. I like the ACP3. We need him in.
Yeah, somebody donate him a hamstring.
Need Mr. Miyagi to go in there and just fucking just get him in there.
Can't you just do that trick you did last time?
I was like, other than that, without that, that's already game over.
Yeah. Yeah, it's
James Harden doesn't have it.
Not expecting James Harden to do anything.
Like I said, it's Game 7, so you never really know. We have a very good guess about what's going to happen.
If James Harden disappears like he did against that year in San Antonio,
if he goes last year, that kills his legacy.
Right?
It kills his legacy just like Kevin Durant going to Golden State. You that's it. Yeah, cool, you won championships, but you went to already one of the most stacked teams in NBA history.
Yeah, an established winning team already.
Yeah. It's James Harden. I would love to see him go and break the playoff scoring record in Game 7 and lead his team to a win. That's what I would love to see.
If he fails this one again, it's shave the beard.
Start fresh, man.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know if you've seen him without the beard, but he needs to keep the beard.
I have not seen him without the beard. Well,
Yeah,
I'm sure I have, but it's been so long.
Yeah, I watched watching him at ASU, like when he was at Arizona State playing, and he was beardless then, and you see the picture of like his roster picture. It's not a pretty sight. Alvin, yours?
Mine is the NFL. I mean,
We're on the same page today. Weird, because that's
like
mine too.
the whole Matt Patricia thing. Not suspending him. I felt like they fumbled on that too. And
Well, see, that's different
ruling.
because he was indicted. They went through the process. They found that he wasn't charged. They ended up dropping all charges, and he was found innocent.
See, I just
and this is something that's 23 years old.
Yeah, but I felt like if that was an NFL player, he would have got suspended.
Not if it was 23 years.
Now let's because NFL players aren't going like if an NFL player does it, it's within the last 2 years. Now if somebody like Adam Vinatieri comes out and it's
someone that's not in the league.
Well, and Josh Brown, the kicker for the Giants, he's a good example. They didn't do anything to Josh Brown for years, knowing about things like that.
Yeah.
And then finally, it came out again, and they did something about it, and he's out of the league.
Yeah, but that was until like it came back a second time.
But it was years and years and years, and like incidents after incidents of his wife like saying things.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Whereas Matt Patricia, this was the one time, and it's like Zeke's thing, like he seems innocent by all court standards, by law standards.
By evidence.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he still ended up serving a suspension, but I think that was more because he didn't want to go through more of the appeals process and any of that. And he just said, all right, I'll take the suspension.
Yeah, well, I think that was just him just saying he gave up on it.
Yeah.
He just took the suspension.
So,
but the biggest dire of all is because of the ruling for the whole
the anthem
rule and all that. Like, I just felt like they wanted to wash their hands with that, like to be like, all right, it's not on us now. It's you. If you decide to be out here, you must stand. If you kneel, it's a fine or whatever, right?
Yeah.
Or and a 15-yard penalty, something like that.
They were thinking about a penalty, but right now I think it's just a fine.
Right.
Well, I mean, they had to. They like this is the lowest. This is the lowest ratings they've had. This is the lowest attendance they've had. You got to remember the NFL is also a business, so I mean you got to protect your business.
All right,
they did go about it a bad way with just like you could do this or that, but at the same time, like something had to be said.
You watch a lot of football every Sunday?
Nah, I haven't recently. No.
Do you know that they don't really ever show the national anthem on TV?
They haven't done it until like a couple of years ago.
It was only a rule to stand out outside of the locker room since 2009.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like they haven't.
It's only been 9 years. It's been 8 years since they've had a rule about being out on the field for the national anthem, but they didn't put anything like that.
That's because that's when they started getting money from the military.
So
yeah.
I mean, I understand.
So that's why they have the whole argument about disrespecting the military. Like we know you're not, but
they're business partners of ours.
Yeah, it's just the same reason people is like, oh, pull out a sponsorship with these people. Like, hold on, I'm gonna do what it takes to keep my money coming. So
but even with the ratings, it might have been low, but their ratings were still higher across the board on all major sports.
I don't think any of us know
they own a whole day.
I don't think any of us know how the ratings actually work, because think about the ratings drop and when it occurred, because the ratings have been dropping. Sunday Ticket, Red Zone. You cannot.
But what they're coming down to it right now is ticket sales. Ticket prices are going down, which never happens.
Well, ticket prices need to go down because I don't want to pay $200 to go sit in the nosebleed to watch the Houston Texans.
Yeah, but people are still doing it. So I mean, until they don't do it, which I mean, they're starting to not do it.
You get the environment and you get the atmosphere, but I prefer to go to a baseball game over watching it on TV, but I can also go to a baseball game for $25.
Yeah. But you got
it's-
decent
it's-
seats.
Exactly. NBA games.
Man, you pay $20, you're up in the nosebleeds.
NBA is ticket prices have gone up since I started being able to actually like afford buying tickets for myself. I remember I went to Game 1 of the Golden State Warriors series in 2012, the double overtime game where Manu Ginobili hit the 3 and they came back from 18 points in the fourth quarter. I was in the stands. I was in the nosebleeds. I paid like $50 a ticket for a playoff
sounds about
game
right.
in 2012. A ticket for a playoff game now is like $150.
First round.
Yeah.
Not even like
Not even a good team. But
So I'm less likely to do it now. That's like that ticket prices need to adjust because
But also at the same time, you got to think about the games. You get 16 games, 8 of them are at home, compared to basketball where you get
Right.
42 to 43 at home. Baseball where you get like 80 some games at home. So it's
a
come
supply
down
and demand.
Exactly. So that's why they're up. Like you're only going to be able to see these guys like
yeah.
X amount of times. Where baseball, you could I could find a game in Arlington.
it's
Like,
that's
I
I
guess
think,
like the Twins or somebody.
Exactly.
I'll
that's
still go with.
that's the hardest I think part the NFL is going to have is with the way that cameras and TV are, how expensive it is to go to a game. You're trying to get customers to say going to a game is better when you can't see the field as well, you can't see the play as well, you spend more money. Like there
Your greatest view is 10 feet away from you. Just like, oh man, look at that.
The only pro to going to an NFL game is to actually you actually get to be in the stadium.
Yeah,
That is
being
The environment and the tailgating. It's just the whole experience. It's not even about the game. It's the experience. The Cowboys have fucking dancers in in the rafters.
They got what bars too that you could go to.
yeah. So those are the newer stadiums are doing a lot more of like for fan experience. So try to keep fans coming in. But that's really the thing for the NFL is like it's tough trying to compete with the fact that you can have my dad now has a projector screen and 100-inch projection that we can watch a game on at 1080p like
And the camera's right there, like on the players. Like
you can see everything going on and like so as an NFL
and
fan,
you can still rewind, slow motion, do anything you want.
As a football fan, I get to sit there and I get to be like, okay, well, they're in this
I
formation.
get to control my own replays.
We have Danny Amendola in the slot here. They have Julian Edelman out wide and Gronk is right here. Like Tom Brady's in shotgun. He motions. Like I get to see all of that and I can try to like figure out what the play is. And to me, that's the reason why I don't think I'll ever go to an NFL game unless I happen to go to a Saints game with April is because like I'm not interested. I don't care about the environment of a football game because I don't like crazy crowded bars, and that's what the environment of a football game is. I'd rather just sit at home drinking my whiskey or beer, watching a game and being able to analyze it. Bloody Marys. And, so
Your great margaritas.
Oh yeah, prickly pear margarita.
Yes.
Yeah, I do like making margaritas. I made a mango chamoy margarita the other night.
There we go.
That's what we had last night, the leftovers of it. What me and Alvin had NFL, you had Rockets as Dyer. We have a crying baby outside of our door.
He heard me.
So let's prophesize for the folks. My prophecy, both road teams are going to win. That means we will have another Cleveland Golden State final.
We were on the same wavelength until that.
That's where I'm at.
That's
I
what
got
it's-
that. I got that too.
You got that?
I got the same thing.
I got Warriors Celtics.
Yeah, I think there'll be. I really do think that at least the game today is going to be a great game. Like I would love to see that.
I think it's going to be it's gonna be physical, and they're gonna let them play again like how they did the last game.
And if it's like that, Cleveland is, I think, LeBron is ready to go. Because in Game 6, LeBron can have the mentality like, I'm not going to put 100% effort to this because, I guess, what? Game 5 would have been. Because Game 6 they won. But, like, it's a Game 7 and it is that win or go home mentality. And with that mentality, I'm taking LeBron over everybody.
See, like, I expect LeBron to have a monster game. Like, I don't expect him to be garbage or anything. But his role players, I do expect him to be garbage because it is on the road. And when they're playing in Boston, they are trash.
Here, I'll ramp up my prophecy because I feel like we all went along the same route about just predicting it. The most impactful player outside of LeBron.
You're going to say J.R. Smith?
No.
Okay.
Jordan Clarkson.
Clarkson? I was either thinking J.R. Smith or George Hill. But all right.
Nah, neither of them.
Jordan Clarkson has got to be a guy that they can play and he can guard Jaylen Brown and he can get his own. He can score. He's more athletic than George Hill. He's younger, fresher legs. I think he's a guy who he needs to probably have 18 to 25 points next to LeBron. Because he can make his own plays. You can run him on the pick and roll and he can get by his guy and score. Where George Hill isn't that same guy anymore.
See, my guy that I feel that needs to have a monster game, like, it's not Terry Rozier, it's not Jaylen Brown, it's not Marcus Smart, it's not Al Horford. It's going to be Jason Tatum for the Celtics. He got to at least have 25 points tonight.
Yeah, he's been able to do it for most of the playoffs.
Yeah, except when he goes to freaking Cleveland.
They've won one game on the road all playoffs.
Yeah. And that was from
Philly.
Al Horford shot?
Yeah, the layup.
Yeah.
So
They got a lucky break on that one.
who's the guy, since we all went this direction, who's the guy not named, not the big time guys, not the Clays and Stephs and Hardens and LeBrons, who's the guy who's going to be the big key for their team pulling the game off?
PJ Tucker.
Yeah.
If he has another, 20-plus game?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, really, you could just say one of the Rockets, not named Harden. Because it has to be one of them.
It has to be.
Because
It was between him and Trevor Ariza. But yeah, I go PJ Tucker.
yeah, PJ Tucker definitely, because he's the guy that Draymond Green guards when they go to that tug wagon lineup. I'm a little surprised that D'Antoni didn't play Ryan Anderson a little more last night.
Or at all.
I'm surprised he hasn't gone to Joe Johnson enough.
Well, Joe
Or
Johnson
early.
got put in the game and he got cooked by Steph
Yeah,
right
that
away,
was
just immediately.
that was what, in the fourth quarter or late third quarter?
Yeah, fourth quarter.
And it was already donezo by then.
Yeah,
He did
but
get
that's
cooked.
the only time he's played Ryan Anderson. But Ryan Anderson is a big who can rebound, and he's
Spread
not
the floor.
Yeah, and
perimeter.
he's a better shooter than Tucker is. So I think a 5-man lineup that D'Antoni needs to try to go with to win this game is the Harden, Ariza, Gordon, Tucker, Ryan Anderson. It gives Capella his rest because he's going to be important. But you have Harden as the playmaker. Well, Harden and Gordon, because Gordon has been playing lights out this series. He's probably been the most consistent player for Houston other than game 1.
Yeah.
You have them as the playmakers. You have Ariza who can shoot threes. PJ Tucker is a good shooter. And Ryan Anderson is probably their best knockdown shooter. And he's a guy who can at least, if Iguodala's out again, they're playing Looney more. So that's a guy that you can play Ryan Anderson on the floor with. is Looney and Draymond. But if Iggy plays, then it's gonna. If Iggy plays, then I don't see any way that Houston wins without Chris Paul. That's just how big of an impact that Iguodala has for the rotations, for the defense, for the offense.
You saw it those 2 games that they lost when he was out.
Yep. So that wraps up this edition of our Benchwarmers podcast. We'll see how these Game 7s roll out. We will record it again in a couple days. And
When the dust settles.
When the dust settles, the finals will be set. We'll have a little NBA Finals preview for you. And Game 7 reactions and another edition of Fire Dyer and Prophecy. That's...
And more gumbo.
So I'm Casey Coggins, and I'm always joined by Alvin Hebert.
Sunday chill day.
And Andrew Lara.
Let's get some tacos.
Taco time.
Tacos in tequila.
We are fans of a different kind. We'll take your girl, pay you no mind. Stealing hearts is what we do. Watch out, girl, I'm coming for you. Watch out, girl.